As well, back again with another card fight Vanguard deck profile. So if you guys enjoyed, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and donate to the Patreon. Let's get this one started. Today's deck is on Dark States, Baromagnes from set 2. So Baromagnes is basically the Dark Irregulars of Overdress, and they do a pretty good job at it. And this deck is one, it could be a deck I would main in the future depending on what cards come out for it. But my only thing with it is it's very expensive and it would break my wallet if I even tried it. But I like Baromagnes' style because he has technically 3 different abilities. So let's go ahead and get this started. First up, we've got Uncanny Burning. 6k base, grade 0, boost, 5k shield, the starter and the grade 0 of the ride line. Standard ability, auto when wrote upon, you get to draw a card if you went second, nothing too special about it. But I do like the fact that it's just green fire. That is something unique. That is one thing I liked about the Baromagnes ride line, despite the fact they didn't have the connecting arch thing. All their backgrounds were really unique, and I really like the coolness of them. So I will take that. Uncanny Burning is one of my favorites. Next up, we have our Over Trigger. Hades, Dragon, Deity of Resentment. Mage Held. 5k base, 50k shield, grade 0 with boost, Over Trigger. Over Trigger, you mainly have one Over Trigger in the deck. When revealed as a trigger, remove it from the game. Draw a card, choose one of your units, and it gets 1 million for the turn. If revealed during a drive check, it gets the additional effect where during your turn, you, the player themselves, get the effect. All your vanguards get plus 10,000 power and additional critical until end of fight. So if you pull this on turn 1, for the rest of the game, 10k and a crit to your vanguard at all times during your turn, which is really nice because that immediately makes Baromagnes 23k and 2 crit. I have not pulled this in a while, and in fact, this is the only special over trigger for the nations that I own, and yet for some reason I still can't pull it during my drive checks anymore. I only got to pull it 3 times, but even then, those 3 times, it really came in handy. So I gotta say, Mage Held is really good because it adds for pressure at any point if you drive check it, so there's never really a bad time to drive check it, which is why I like it so much. So really nice card, even though I would like to run it out more. If I ran it out more, I'm pretty sure that would be illegal, so 1 copy. Our trigger-wise, we have 3 draw triggers in Vital Lever, 4 front triggers in Huckle Hustle, and 4 critical triggers in 4 Flinty Slasher, and 4 heals in Steam Scara Mal-Nigal. Now, you may be wondering why I don't run the front that has the 5k shield. For the simple reason, it's a Diablo's girl card. I have nothing against the Diablos. In fact, I was originally going to do Bruce over this deck profile, but then I realized that for the last 3 videos that I've made on Overdress deck profiles for set 2, they've all been from non-trial decks. So I decided to do Baromagnes instead. And the reason why I don't run it is because Diablos is a archetype, so I refuse to run them outside of Diablos. So yeah, that's why the front trigger's not here and why I replaced it with the 3 draw. I'm not saying that's a good idea, but it works for me, and I've yet to be proven wrong about that fact. So let's keep this going. Next up, we have, on grade 1s, we have 2 copies of Freeze Breeze. One of my favorite looking cards. This is the reincarnation of Blue Dust for me, so I really like it. 8k base, 5k shield, grade 1 with boost. Auto rear, when the attack this unit boosted hits, if your Vanguard is Master of Gravity, Baromagnes, Soul Charge 1, any of your souls 10 or more cards, counterblast 1 to draw 2. The Soul Charge 1 is mainly what I use it for. Actually, the on is what I use it for. This never goes off. It's gone off once, and that was it. So every other time, I've just used it as on-hit fodder. But still, you get a soul out of it guaranteed if it hits. And then you get to draw 2 with the counterblast, so that's really nice. And its art is just really cool. I like the ice. It feels like it's kind of popping out to me in 3D. I should probably go try to find my 3D glasses that I took from a movie theater to see if that would change how it looks. Either way, it's a helpful card, but you don't want to see it too often, so I say a 2 of. Next up, we have our PG in Recusal Hate Dragon. 6k base, grade 1 with boost as a Sentinel. Continuous Sentinel, you mainly have up to 4 cards with Continuous Sentinel in the deck. And then auto when placed on guard, choose one of your units, and it cannot be hit till end of battle. And if you have 2 or more hand cards, choose a card from hand, discard it. So if this is in your hand and you have 1 other card, you can use this PG and you won't have to discard, which is really nice. This really does it before. In fact, I've been saved by this once, or technically my friend has been saved by it once, because rarely I see people get down to 1 hand card with this PG or any form of a PG at all. And just recently, me and my friend were doing testing with Orphist, and I think I was using a Hexa Orb, and they just survived with a PG at 1 hand card, and the PG being that 1 hand card. So really nice for Skill Hate Dragon, or just all the PGs in general to have that effect. So 4 copies. Next up, we have our grade 1 of the ride line, Deep Soniker. Auto when it's placed on Van, soul charge 1, and continues rear during your turn. If your soul has 10 or more cards, it gets plus 10 for the turn, or just during your turn in general. So automatically it's a free soul charge, and if you're going second, you get to draw a card along with that. And, you know, plus 10 on rear if you have 10 or more cards in soul. If I remember correctly from last week's video, I had Baromagnes on Van, and if I remember correctly, I was in a corner, so I decided to say, fuck it, Hail Mary, and soul charge like there was no tomorrow, and go from, like, what I believe was 5 or 6 soul, all the way to 15 in one turn, which I don't know why I did that, but it worked somehow, so yeah, and the 10k just helps out a lot when you're doing the rush thing. I think I'm the only person that doesn't, like, try to kill them with Deep Soniker really early. Like, when I get to 15 soul, my plan is call a Deep Soniker just to hit for numbers, but instead of calling a second Deep Soniker to try to kill them, I just call a Selfish Engraver and constantly send it to soul to countercharge over and over and over again. In fact, the only time I've actually called 2 Deep Sonikers at once with Baromagnes' ability to call stuff from soul was when I knew I was going to win regardless, unless they pulled a heal. Which is why I did it, because they can't stop both of them even if they did pull a heal. And yet, that's the only time I've ever done it. Every other time it's always been a Deep Soniker and a Selfish Engraver. One to get countercharged, I can just keep doing it over and over again, and then the other one just because massive big swings. But either way, Deep Soniker is a really nice card. 4 copies. 2 copies of Cleave Muddler. Auto rear when it attacks. If your Vanguard is Master of Gravity Baromagnes, discard a card from hand. It gets plus 5 for the battle, and if your soul has 10 or more cards, countercharge 1. Okay. This is here in the situation where I've used up all of my counterblast in some ungodly method, and all of my Selfish Engravers are impossible to get to for whatever reason. This is what I do. Also, it's a 5k hit. It's a 15k swinger. I need that. It's an extra 5k guard. I will take it. And it's a possible countercharger too. So 2 copies, because it's not that bad, but it's not that good either. Next up, 4 copies of Selfish Engraver. I just noticed that snake/dragon thing in the background about to swallow the moon, or technically the castle. Selfish Engraver is a grade 2 with intercept 5k shield, 10k base. Auto rear when its attack hits, soul charge 1, it can hit anyone. And auto rear at the end of the battle that it attacked, if your soul has 10 or more cards, put it to soul and counter charge 1. I don't know why, but every single time I see someone use Selfish Engraver, the first time that it hits, no one ever uses its skill. And it's just because they genuinely forget. I don't know why. That seems like to be the skill I remember the most. I mean, I remember the countercharge thing because that's the reason why it's in here. But I find it funny how almost everyone I see use Selfish Engraver forgets at least once that it's an on-hit, soul charge 1, which is very funny to me. But, you know, it's really good. You get that soul charge if it does hit, allowing for like a small early rush. And, you know, you can just send it to soul, countercharge, and loop Baromagnes over and over and over again, which is why I like it so much. So 4 copies. Next up, 4 copies of Electro Spartan. 10k base, grade 2, intercept, 5k shield. He is the grade 2 of the ride line, and I just noticed he has a moon in his background. Auto, when it's rode upon by Master of Gravity, Baromagnes, put a card from hand to soul, draw a card, and soul charge 1. So, just get 2 soul charges, which is really nice. The only downside of that is you have to put a card from your hand into soul, and I have never had good options with him, ever, of like, cards to put into soul, because it's always in the situation where I either have to shove a trigger in there, which I don't want to do, I have to shove a persona ride in there, which I also don't want to do, I have to shove a PG in there, which I also don't want to do, or I have to shove in something that I wanted to rush with this turn and prepare for next turn's Baromagnes 15 soul bullshit. And I'm always stuck with the decision, which one in that situation do I value more over everything else? And typically I just send the Persona Ride or the Trigger to soul. I always keep the PG because I'm not that stupid, and I always keep the Rush because I need that for my plays. Either way, he's still helpful in the sense that he can still get you a draw and a soul charge. And then auto, when placed on rear, counterblast 1 and soul charge 2. Okay, yes, that is actually really good, because it's, besides Baromagnes himself, the only other thing that uses counterblast in this deck is this thing, and, well, that and Phantasmagoria Boy, who I've never used once in my life, and I never will. So having that extra soul charge too is really helpful, especially when I'm trying to max out my soul charge potential and rush in Baromagnes head first. So 4 copies because he can be helpful, and 1's in the ride deck. And onto our grade 3s. Speaking of Phantasmagoria Boy, Phantasma Magician Curtis. 13k base, grade 3, twin drive, Persona Ride at 4. Auto when placed on rear, if you have Vanguard as Master of Gravity Baromagnes, soul charge 2. That is mandatory, which sucks about him, because it means you can never call him from Baromagnes Soul unless you want to soul charge 2 immediately. But Still, that's really good. It's free, and it's a soul charge too. So you just call it just to spam more soul. And then act rear, if your soul has 10 or more cards, counterblast 2, and all of your front more units get +5 for the turn. Okay. That is good, but I don't like using that because it's counterblast 2. I have 6 counterchargers, but I never use that because the 5k never seems to make much of a difference, considering the fact I always kill my opponent beforehand, or I'm too busy using up my counterblast on Electro Spartan to make sure I actually hit my 15 soul mark. So Curtis I never use unless I absolutely have to, or if I have the spare counterblast, which has yet to come up. But still, I like his art, I like his name because it reminds me of a certain move from Inazuma 11. That is my favorite, so 4 copies of Curtis. Next up on our last normal unit and our last grade 3, and our main boy, Master of Gravity, Baromagnes! I really like his background the most. It seems kind of like a planet exploding behind him. It seems like he's actually inside like an anime. Looking at his card, it looks like he's inside an anime. That's what it looks like to me. Anyways, is he holding up those guns telepathically? Now I need to know. Anyways, Master of Gravity Baromagnes, 13k base, grade 3, 200 Persona Ride. Auto Van, when it attacks, counterblast 1 to perform all the following effects according to the number of cards in your soul. If you have 5 or more, draw a card. Okay, no one here can say it's going to struggle to get 5 or more. If you just use the standard ride line, you will hit 5 or more just by riding. Because Uncanny Burning, that's 1. You ride Deep Soniker, and then use his ability to soul charge 1. That's 3 cards once you round on top of Deep Soniker. Now you have 3 cards in soul, which is Spartan. Then you round on top of Spartan. Spartan counts as the 4th card. Then use Spartan skill. If you just put a hand card to soul, you will immediately have 5. And then you get another soul charge, putting you to 6. It is impossible not to hit 6. I mean, yeah, it's impossible not to hit 6 in the Baromagnes ride line unless you just choose to skip Spartan. Or unless you just switch them around. Anyways, you get a draw, which is fine. And 10 or more, it gets plus 10k in a crit for the battle, so the most dangerous effect, and basically like the over trigger. And 15 or more, both you and your opponent put all their rear guards into the soul, choose up to 2, call them, and they get... You choose up to 2 from your soul, call them, and they get plus 10 for the turn. That's normally the play that I make, where I go Selfish Engraver, swing at something, whether it hits or not, I shove it to soul, countercharge, swing with something else, normally to Curtis, then I swing with Van, send Curtis and whatever else is in my rear guard to soul, call down Selfish Engraver from soul so I can do it again next turn, and call down Deep Soniker, swing for big number, countercharge 1, soul charge 1, and just stall from there. I really like Baromagnes. He does force your opponent to guard the Vanguard, and if you combine that with the over trigger, even if there's not enough, even though Baromagnes is kind of just have his own over trigger, that's triple critical. Triple critical is already dangerous. Like if an attack is at double crit and I'm at 3 damage, no matter how many triggers I know you run in your deck or what type of triggers, I will go for a 2 to pass, but if you have a triple critical, fuck no. No. Even if I'm at 2 damage, I'm not fucking risking that. That's way too stupid. So, yeah, that's what I feel about Baromagnes. I don't know why when it changes when I'm at 4 compared to 2. I mean 3 to compared to 2. And yeah, that's Baromagnes skill. Next up, we have our orders. 2 copies of Supernatural Extraction. I like that art too. It looks really cool, at the same time it looks really dark. Play it by counterblasting 1 and discarding a card from your hand as a grade 3 order. Soul charge 3, then if you have soul as 10 or more cards, you may choose a card from your soul and put it to hand. So it sucks that you have to discard 1 and counterblast 1. Counterblast I don't mind, the discard I always do mind. But you get a soul charge 3 out of it, guaranteed, and then you can possibly get something to hand, which is really nice. If you want a Electro Spartan, a Curtis, or a Persona Ride maybe, or PG, it's always helpful. So 2 copies. And our last card in the deck is 3 simple copies of Brother's Soul. Soul Charge 2. It's for free. There is nothing nothing can beat this. That is a free Soul Charge 2. There's no anything extra you have to do. No cost you have to have. No requirements. It's just a free Soul Charge 2, which is why I like it so much. It's 3 copies. Everyone can get this. It's in the fucking trial deck at 3 copies. Don't tell me you can't get it. A lot of people may be wondering why I don't run the Blitz order that gives plus 15. Despite the fact that this deck could take advantage of that. I just don't because 1, it has Bruce in the art. Or it has Bruce cards in the art. And in my eyes, that means it's meant to be used with Bruce, so I refuse to use it here. And 2, I don't need the 15k shield. Because how often orders pop up in my hand, or the card I would replace it with, does not help me. Considering how many times I would draw it comparatively. And then the other thing that I could be missing that other people might bring up is Crimson Expeller. Why I don't run him, the thing that's on attack, Soul Charge 1 for free. The reason why I don't run him is not because of the Soul Charge 1 for free. It's good. I agree with that one. But in the other skill, Counterblast 1, Soul Blast it, Soul Charge 1, and get plus 10. that is something that will never be useful to me, because the Vanguard attack, in my experience, I played Baromagnes nearly 100 times, and every time everyone's PG'd it. The only time they have never PG'd it is when they were at 2 damage and I didn't even get my double crit off, which was a very sad game for me. But that's the only time it's never been PG'd, and there's no reason to not give it 10k when it's always going to get PG'd, and I already have enough resources and all the other stuff to make it work. And the only thing I would take out Crimson Expeller for is Cleave Muddler, who I put in there in case, and also has a 15k swinger. So while Crimson is just a 10k swing, Cleave Muddler is a 15, so I have priorities here. I mean, that's just my personal opinion on this. You can do whatever you want with your deck, but that's how I see it. And that was the deck. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, donate to the Patreon, follow the Twitch, join the Discord, subscribe to my second channel focused on Beyblade, and go check out Thera. And I'll see you all in the next one. Don't forget to stand up your Vanguards.